Welcome back, guys, to part 3 of the Kawasaki KFX 450R rebuild. And what we're going to do today is we are going to work on the head. We are going to rebuild the head. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull the valves out. We're going to replace the valve seals, and we're going to lap the valve seats, and then we're going to reassemble. And this head should be as good as new. And we are going to do that with the valves out. We're going to clean the carbon. You guys can see the carbon on there. We're going to clean the carbon off, and just get this back in tip-top shape. So as you can see, one of the buckets just fell out. And it's a good chance, actually it's a good time to start inspecting everything to make sure that there's no issues with any of these parts. There's no fractures in these, no cracks. And that looks pretty good. And the shim is in here. Pull it out. That's the shim. And it is it looks like a 55. 2.55. It is a hot cam shim. So this motor's been shimmed once already because Kawasaki wouldn't use the hot cam shim. So I'm going to pop it back in there, and we're going to hang on to it. Best way I find to keep this stuff straight, because basically I want everything to go back where it came from, because they're worn into this spot. The shims are correct to the valves already, which we're going to check them once we finish doing what we're doing here. We're going to check the valve lash again anyway. But what I like to do is I take a piece of paper and I'll write top. This is the top. And I'll put exhaust and intake, which orientates which way the head is. That's the exhaust here and the intake's here. And then I will place the buckets and the valves, the springs, the keepers, everything in the spot corresponding with where I took them out. Seeing how this one's already out, we're going to put that right there. Now I have a magnet, and I like to use this magnet. It's one of those long deals for reach and stuff, but it's super powerful, and it pulls the cap up with the shim. And I don't have to worry about losing the shim or anything like that, because the magnet is strong enough to pull them both up together. And the shim is in there. And the shim looks pretty good too. I don't see any damage on that. The bucket looks like it has a little bit of wear on it. Let's continue. Everything looks good. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to get my valve compressor, and I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't hit that and mix them all up. I'm going to grab my valve compressor, and we are going to pop the springs out. I'll be right back. Before I get the spring compressor out, let's clean this up a little bit. Let's see what we got here. And I think I'm just going to use some WD-40 if I can find it. We'll use just a little bit of WD-40 to clean this up. The reason why I'm doing this now, before I pull the valves out, because I do not want to run that wire wheel. And it is a brass wheel. I don't know if you can see that. It's a soft brass wheel. It's not a metal wheel. And this will allow me to clean the head up really good without worrying about scoring the valve seats, which we don't want to do. So let's do a little bit more, because I see a little bit more in the middle here. So this is going to take a little while. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to work this. You guys can see it is getting a lot cleaner. I'm going to continue to work this until I get most of this carbon off. And I'll turn you back on and show you the end result. So I just want to show you real quick process. You can see this valve right here, how shiny this is now. There's still some stuff on here which I still got to scrape off, which I think the wire wheel will get, but I will show you. You can see how clean that valve is now compared to this one and the others. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just scraping it with a pick. These valves are super hard. They're probably 60, 65 Rockwell. The pick is probably case hardened. I wouldn't say it's any more than 40 Rockwell. It's not going to scratch the valve. You can see as hard as I push on that, it is not scratching the valve. So I'm using a pick to scrape off the carbon. And this carbon basically will interfere with the efficiency of this engine. So I'll show you what I'm going to do here. You can see it? See the shine there? It's not scratching it, but it is taking the carbon off. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to do all 4 of these and come back when it's done. Look how nice and clean that is now. There's no obstructions on those valves now at all. There's still some residual here that I can still flake off. But they are nice and clean now. Much better than they were. Much better than they were, and the air will flow much better in there. So now I'm going to show you guys one other trick that I use. I'll do this again before I do reassembly. But I have this stone, and this is a sort of like a machinist stone. It's it's a stone for smoothing out flat surfaces. And what I like to do is I like to run it around all my gasket surfaces, and I'll do it on the head, I'll do it on the side covers, I'll do it on everything. And I'll put a little bit of oil on here, which is WD-40. That's basically all you need. And just lay it flat on the head like that. And then just go back and forth. And I always want to have at least 2 sides of this supported over any opening or any cavity so it doesn't gouge. This will get all the old gasket up, all the old material that's left behind, any corrosion, anything like that. And it'll make this a really nice, tight seal so we'll get full compression. And I will do this on the top of the cylinder as well when I'm done honing it. So you'll see me do this process a couple more times in this rebuild. Now that feels nice and smooth. Now basically all you do is just wipe the excess off the stone. And you don't really need to do much with the stone. That's pretty much it. And just let it sit in a coffee can over there. Nothing fancy. And then we'll wipe it off. And you can see how shiny and smooth that is now. I mean, there's no imperfections, there's no dimples, there's no raised surfaces on this at all. So that'll be a nice seating surface. Now, in all honesty, we could use the head the way it is right now. I could just pop it back on because it looks like everything's seating well. I don't see any burn marks. Everything looks good. But while I have it out, and I did buy a full engine gasket set, I am going to replace the valve seals. And I went to get my valve spring remover, and of course it doesn't fit this head, so I'm gonna have to make something to get those out, because I'm definitely getting them out. I am not gonna put this head back in this bike without new valve seals. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up with something. I ended up making something, and I had a piece of scrap metal, and I drilled some holes in it, and I put some screws in here, and I got this hole here. This is a side cover 8mm bolt, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw this bolt in here, and I'm going to push down on this to try to free up the spring. See if it works. If not, I'll have to buy the right tool, but I think this will work fine. I'm going to put this towel underneath here to take up the gap underneath the valves. See if it works. So I'm going to screw it in here, and this is actually symmetrical on both sides. So if this works, I'll be able to use it for all four. Well, let's see. See if I can get a little deeper. I think it might work. Grab my magnet, see if I can just go a little bit deeper with this. See if I can pull those out. And there's one. So it did work. Beautiful. Now again, this is the intake side. That's that one. So I'm going to drop it right inside the cup so I don't lose it. I'll grab my magnet. I'll grab the other keeper, which is right here. You can see it. It's going right in that cup. Let me bring this over so you can see it. Right in the cup. That way I won't lose it. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way for a second. Turn until I get the tension off of it, which we do. Let's pull this out. That's the cap. There's a washer under it. It goes on that side. First spring. Looks like the big end's down, so we're going to place it exactly how it was. Again, big end down. Now it goes inside. And I'm going to put that back on top. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this over here exactly the way I took it out of the engine. Now, let's pull the valve and see what that looks like. So I'm just going to push on the stem. And as you can see, it's coming right out. And there's a little bit of carbon on there. The valve itself looks good. I'm going to hit that on a wire wheel. See if we can clean that up. I have the wire wheel right here. Let's see what it does. And it takes it right off. And I'm gonna try to stay away from the edge of the valve because I don't wanna risk damaging it at all. And I think we got most of it off now. Let's take a look. Yeah, well, it's still on there. So I'll have to hit it with the wire wheel a little bit harder. You can see it's coming off. So I'll work that. The valve seat, let's get a look at that. The valve seats look fantastic. Oh, maybe not. She does look a little sketchy right here. She's a little burnt, a valve seat, a tiny bit burnt right there. So lapping these in, gonna do wonders. We got a little bit of spring tension on this, so I'm just gonna back the screw up until we get the tension off of it. Take it up by hand. So this thing works pretty good. Not bad for backyard mechanic stuff. And we'll take the springs out, same deal. Stack them over here the same way they came out. Push the valve up. And you can see this valve here is super clean. See how clean that is? See how dirty that one is? You know what that means? That means the valve seal on this valve was bad, and oil was leaking down onto the valve, and it was burning up and causing carbon. This valve seal is good because this valve is good. So I needed valve seals anyway. Yeah, and there's some carbon buildup on this too. We're gonna have to hit that with the wire wheel, the brass wheel, and be very gingerly with it. See what that seat looks like? Oh, there's a lot of carbon in there. Don't know if we can get that out without damaging anything. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some scraping to get that carbon out of there. All right, I'm gonna shut you off. I'm gonna take this last one out, now that you guys saw how I did it. And then I'm gonna clean the valves up on the wire wheel. I'm gonna put the wire wheel in my drill press and get a little more RPM out of it. And I'll have a little bit more control, you know, holding the valve and moving it to make sure that I don't catch it and hit an area I don't want to. So let me shut you off, take care of all that, and then I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, all the valves are out. I wire wheeled them all. This was the dirty exhaust valve. You can see how clean that is now. If you don't believe me, there's its mate. Both nice and clean. So what I want to do now is I want to clean this up. And if you can see this down here, I mean, if I put a pick to it, you can see it's coming up. You can see the dust and stuff. I don't want to scratch. So I'm going to use this brass brush. This brass brush is for a 12 gauge shotgun cleaning rod. Works perfect for cleaning out ports. And I'm just going to go back and forth in there and clean out some of this crud. It's already a vast improvement. You can see the back there, it's still a little carbony, but it's a lot better than it was compared to what this is over here. So I'm going to continue to work this until I get these two areas clean, and I'll turn you back on when I'm done. Let's work on pulling these valve seals. Let's take a look at them before we go any further. And you can see them down in there. Should be able to just grab them with a pair of pliers and pop them right out of there. Here we go. She's out. That's one. Let's work on getting them all. All right, those are out. Take a look down in there. The guides look good. All right. I cleaned most of the carbon out of there, as you can see. They look a lot better now than they did. I could get it all out of there if I really wanted to sit and fuss with it, but I don't want to scratch it up. She'll run good enough. I'm going to go outside and spray this with brake clean right now. All right, look at how nice this looks now. Nice and clean. Looks beautiful. This head is going to be like brand new when we're done with it. All right, next up, we're going to lap the valves. All right, this is the valve grinding compound that I use. And you can get this, it's Engine Rebuilder's Aid. You can get this at an Napa, AutoZone, ADAP, yeah. Any of those auto parts stores. And basically what we're going to do here is I'm going to put a little bit around the edge. You don't need a lot of this. Just remember, we got to clean this up really good before we put it back together, because this stuff is really, really abrasive, and we don't want this stuff running around inside the engine. So we're going to put a real nice coating on here. All right. Now we want to remember, we don't want to get it on the valve stem, because we don't want it to grind up, to grind the valve guide. So only touch the stem with the hand. You don't have the grinding compound on. So what I want to do right now is just figure out which one we're on. It's this valve right here, which is this valve right here. So that's the one I'm going to poke in right now. And I'm going to push it into the guide. If I can see it. Here we go. It's in the guide right now, and I'm just going to push it in till it seats. Grinding compound on there. Actually, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to change this towel, because it's got all the crud on it from when... I'm actually going to throw that away. It's got all the crud on it from when we were cleaning the head. I got a nice clean towel here. All right. There's many ways you could spin the valve. There's a suction cup that pops on here, and then people do that deal. I like to use a rubber hose. What I do is I just push the rubber hose over the valve stem, like that, and then I turn the hose and put a little bit of tension on here. And you can hear that grinding. And you want to go back and forth until it sounds smooth. If it's beyond simple lapping, then you need to cut the seat. And I also have a valve seat cutting kit, but we don't need it for this particular application. So now I'll pull this off. Let me get my flashlight and show you what we're looking at here. You can see how the compound has turned a gray color. It's gray because there's aluminum in it. So let's clean this up and see what it looks like. We'll take a look here. And you can see that area there that looks sandblasted. Let me try to get it on my hand here so you can focus. The area there that's sandblasted, got that sandblast look. It's not shiny anymore. That's what's within contact of the head. That is a perfect contact seat right there. You can see it. It's uniform all the way around. That looks beautiful. Let's take a look at the head. First, I want to clean all the compound off. And then we're going to get the light again. so you guys can see it. You can see that area there. Again, it looks like it's been sandblasted. It's a different color now. It's not shiny anymore. If you look over here, you'll see the seat's a little bit shiny. It's all dull now because it made a nice contact all the way around. Now what we're going to do is we're going to blue it up, and we're going to check it one more time. And I want to clean off the stem so I don't get any grinding compound in there. I'm going to take a simple marker, just a Sharpie. I'm going to run it around the edge here, cover the whole thing. And what this is going to do is it's going to tell me what kind of contact I have. It looks good on first glance, but you never know because the compound actually takes up space. So this will tell me exactly what my contact patch looks like. Let it dry for a second. Now I'm going to pop it back in, right inside the same one. But you don't want to get carried away here. You just want to spin it. Here, you barely hear it. That's a really good seat. Probably one of the best seats I've done. I can just tell by the way it sounds. And we pull it up and we take a look. I'm going to put a little light on that just so you guys can see it. Again, I'm going to try to make it so that you can see. See how all the blue's off? That is a perfect contact right there. It doesn't get any better than that. That is beautiful. All right, 1 down, 3 to go. I'm not going to sit here and video each one. It gave you guys an idea of how to lap a valve. I'm going to lap in the other 3, and I'll turn you back on when we're ready to put in the valve seals. Okay, I'm on the last valve now, but I wanted to show you guys just a comparison. You can see the difference here. You can see how shiny that valve seat is right there and how dull that one is. The dull one is the one I just lapped in. The shiny one hasn't been done yet. So you can see the difference. You can see them on all of them, but they really stand out here. These two, you can really tell the difference between the two. I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to lap this in, and then we'll move on from there. All right, we're all lapped in. Before I clean this head up for its last time, I want to do the top surface with the stone. A little bit of WD. And if any of you guys out there want to buy one of these stones, you can buy them at McMaster Car. They're a machinist supply house, and they're on the internet. And the great part about them is whatever you order from them, you usually get it within 2 days, 2-3 days. They're a great place to buy bulk metal too. Like if you need steel, they'll ship it right to your house. Pretty cool place. They got everything. I'm not sponsored by them, but I do buy a lot of stuff. I do buy a lot of stuff from them. Sorry for the noise. All right, that's good and deburred. I think I want to get the base one more time. I think it looks fantastic. All right, I am going to hit this with the air compressor real quick. Then I'm going to take it outside. I'm going to hit it with the brake clean one more time. And then I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna brake clean all the other parts, and we'll start some assembly. Everything is clean. I literally used a whole can of safety clean, and I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that you have got every little piece, every little granular of grinding compound out of this head, out of your head when you do it. And you can see that this thing is in really, really good shape now. Really good shape. We're going to reassemble, but first I am going to put the valve seals in. And I ordered an engine gasket kit, and here it is. And it's a Vertec. I've had really good luck with Vertec gaskets. I've used them on quite a few builds, and until I have a problem with them, I'll keep using them. They're not the cheapest either. This gasket set here, I think, was $65. But it is a complete set. It's every gasket that you need for this engine. So they're the same number. There's our valve seals. So this is a tool that I made in a lathe, and it's for putting the guides in. And this guide here, this one obviously is a lot bigger than the one on the YZ250, because I had to replace one of the guides because when the piston hit the valve, it broke the guide too. But it does have a plenty big enough shoulder, as you can see, that I can push this in no problem. So that's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to put just a tad drop of motor oil inside of this, just so that it goes on nice and smooth. And I'm just going to push it down in the hole here, and it should just pop right in. And that's it. She's in. And all you do is they just push on. They're just rubber with springs on them, and they just push on, and that's pretty much it. This is the most tedious part of this job, and the biggest pain. I'm gonna try spinning this thing down. Hopefully that'll work. Now the tricky part is getting these keepers in, and a tweezer is usually the way I go. With a tweezer, tends to be the easiest way to get you, because your hands just don't fit. Proper tool for the job. This is not it, but it will work. It's gonna take time playing around with it. And then you just push it in. All right, she's in. One down. All right, there it is. So what I'm going to do now is the rest, and turn you back on when I get them all assembled. Okay, they're all in. Now what I want to do now is push on the spring to make sure the keepers are seated, while I have the valve on top of the rag. That way the valve itself doesn't move, just the top and the keepers do. All right, we're good. All right, so as it stands, I can't actually set the valve lash because I don't have a shim kit for a 450, and I wasn't thinking when I said it, because my shim kit is for a 250 and they're too small for this engine. So I have to buy the proper kit for this engine. But we can look things over right now. So it's all set. It's all cleaned up really nice. This head is completely rebuilt. It's going to increase horsepower because everything is nice and tight. The valve seats, the compression chamber is going to be really nice. Just look at that bottom of that head. That is beautiful. That looks brand new compared to what it used to be. Everything's all cleaned up. Everything's polished up. The valve seats are cut. Everything looks nice. This head is ready to roll. And performance-wise, this makes a huge difference. If you're going to rebuild your engine, you pull the top end off anyways. Pull out your valves, inspect them, clean all your ports, get all your carbon off, cut your valve seats, replace your valve seals, inspect your springs, put it all back together. In the long run, it is going to make the motor so much crisper, have so much more performance, so much more torque. It's night and day. You won't believe it. It is well worth doing. Not to mention, it looks pretty badass. So I can't go any further with this, but we're going to set it aside. We're going to cover it up so it doesn't get dirty. And no debris gets in it because it's all ready to be popped back on. The only thing I got to do is put in the shims and then set the gap for the camshafts. And that's it. So I'm going to end video number 3 here, and we'll leave this as a standalone for how to rebuild the head on this Kawasaki, because when people search it out, sometimes they just want to see how to do a specific thing, and they don't want to watch the whole video on the whole rebuild. So we'll leave it at that. I want to thank everybody who's been watching. I want to thank all the subscribers. I want to especially thank the people that have been corresponding back and forth, leaving comments and asking questions. And actually, there's been a few people that have actually helped me out on this. I want to thank those people as well. I appreciate all the input, and I will put it all to good use. And yeah, so I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to order up that shim kit. I am going to hone out the piston in the next video, and we're going to get ready. We're going to measure the bore, because I want to make sure I get the right piston before I order it. And I also want to check the ring gap as well. I don't know if I'll record that, but I want to check it. So again, thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. And I will see you guys in video 4.